What's up, guys? David Land here. Welcome back to Project Cars 2, where we are going to be doing a multi-class 30-minute enduro at the Zhuhai International Circuit in China. Yes, Donald, China. Today, we are going to be participating as a second-class citizen. And that may trigger the people who watch sports car racing for the GTs. But yes, we are going to be racing in the GTE class in the fabulous and beautiful Ford GT. Probably my favorite of the modern GT cars. Of course, this is the Ford Ganassi Racing entry, which was at the 24 Hours of Le Mans at their return in 2016. This particular car was piloted by IndyCar star Scott Dixon and a couple of the WEC Ganassi Racing drivers. We have a 30-minute race, like I said, 3 classes. It's not the official WEC class structure. I've decided, in the interest of kind of mixing up the field a little bit, maybe getting a little bit more separation between the classes, we've got P1 and GTE, which of course, those classes are both in the World Endurance Championship. But instead of LMP2, I've decided to swap out P2 for the LMP3 cars. Now, what I didn't realize when I'd done this was that the LMP3 cars run very similar pace to the GTE cars. So there may be some prototype versus GT racing in the mid-pack as the back of the P3 field is overtaken by the front of the GTE field. I've qualified mid-pack in the GTE Pro category. There are 7 cars in my class and 6 in P1 and P3. The P1 cars are extremely fast here at Zhuhai, so it's going to be pretty crazy as a second-class citizen to get those P1 cars flying up behind me probably once or twice during this race. That's going to add a different element to this race that's going to make it very, very exciting. And it's also the first time on this channel that I have raced in a multi-class race in which I have not been the top class driver. So this is going to be very interesting. So here we go. So here we are on the grid at Zhuhai, starting behind a Corvette and an Aston Martin, and alongside an Aston Martin. And for whatever reason, that Aston Martin just decided to hit check me right at the start. Thankfully, no damage, and we are racing. No formation lap, because I feel like it spreads out the field a little too much. But of course, this may end up being a bit of a cluster down here in turn 1. We'll see. P3 car is going a little bit slow there, holding up the field a little bit. I think we got under 2 of our GT competition, and then I almost lost the back end there. The Corvette will get back around. Ooh, the P3 cars are going very slow here into this corner here, which is kind of like a hairpin. The Falcon Aston is up past one of the P3s, and we've gotten around the Corvette, so now we've got to deal with prototype traffic as well as the cars in our class. So we get down here into another one of the hairpins as the Corvette almost runs into the back of me. It's one of the Ligier P3 cars, because I maybe shouldn't have been in first gear there. I've got a little bit of wheel spin. There's Ligier and Gibson, or not Gibson, excuse me. Janetta are the 2 P3 manufacturers represented in this game. There are a few more in real life, but they didn't get the license for them for whatever reason, as I almost lost it through there as well. Gonna try to hold the Corvette off here. These early laps is so crucial, as that was not good through there. The Corvette, giving me a little bit of argy-bargy on the exit. Somehow, I didn't get taken off there. No damage to speak of, that's a good thing. Only 19 cars in this race, I should say, because of the fact that there's a glitch in Project Cars 2, only on the console version, I hate to report, that if you run more than 18 cars, AI cars, the tires superheat and burn off incredibly fast, so you go spinning on like the second lap you run at speed. Very disappointing, considering that glitch was not in the game previous to the 2.0 patch. So I have to say, as a customer of Project Cars, and I know there is an employee, at least one employee that watches my videos, so please don't take this as negative criticism, but for the love of God, whoops, as we go off there, I'm getting mad, and I shouldn't be doing that. Driving angry is a bad thing, kids. But just for the love of God, quality control test the game on the consoles a little bit better, please. I get it, you're focused on the PC version, that's all well and dandy, PC Master Race, I get it. But there is a big customer base here on the consoles, and we happen to like our Project Cars experience too, and we'd like it to be just as good as those PC Master Race people. So please, I beg of you, fix it, Liz. Okay, so we're in second in GTE. We're letting that Falcon Tires car really get away. So I'm going to try to get going here. That final corner at Zhuhai is so very, very fast. It's kind of one of those deceptive fast corners. It's off camber. Kind of baits you into thinking you can go into it a little bit faster or slower than you should be. There's like a perfect happy medium, and it's hard to find it. I always like to short shift right before I get to this kink because you can take it flat out, but it is difficult. It's the Corvette looking to the inside. He almost got there. Thankfully, he did not.
Great first sector. That's your best split time so far.
And I'm telling you, that Aston is gone. The Aston leading GTE is just absolutely gone. So clearly the Falcon tires are OP. They've got nothing for my Michelins or the Pirelli shod cars behind me. And I think that I'm kind of hoping that that P3 car stays behind him, because he'll probably slow him up. It's weird how the P3 cars make up their lap time. It doesn't seem like they're that much faster in the corners than the GTE cars. It seems like they're just a little bit faster on the straights. He's got to defend from that Corvette back there. Oh, he gets into me again. That's the second time he's hit me there. I'm getting Corvetted. As we work our way down here. The final corner. Maybe got in there a little too deep. Slid the back end just a little bit. I think we've got an Aston behind us now. Yes, so Aston versus Ford versus Chevy. I think there's a Beamer in this race as well. No Ferraris. I find that the Ferraris don't show up very much when you race in GTE. You actually have to pick a Ferrari to get a Ferrari in your race. I actually like driving the Ferrari almost as much as I like driving the Ford in the GTE class. You really can't go wrong in the GTE class. All the cars are really well balanced, very nice to drive. But some, to me at least, are slightly better than others. Ooh, as we get out on the grass again, that is no bueno, no bueno. I actually don't mind driving the Corvette as well. The Corvette's probably my third favorite. Actually, I don't think I've driven the Aston. I need to drive the Aston because I've driven the Beamer briefly. I kind of prefer the GT3 version of the Beamer, which is I really like it as a GT3 car. I've raced it online a few times, and I've been very competitive with it. Even though my favorite of the GT3 cars at the moment to drive is the Audi. The R8 in the Stevenson Motorsport livery. Of course, the owner of Stevenson Motorsports just recently passed away, which is unfortunate. So obviously, anybody who liked the Stevenson Motorsports has been thinking about them.
A little bit now, mate. You're putting in some consistent times, but we need to push now.
So yeah, we're going to need to push because, as you heard, kind of in trouble here from the perspective of possibly winning this race, at least in GTE. We're able to keep that Aston behind, but yeah, we're about 5 seconds behind that Falcon Tires Aston. He has just checked the freak out. I'm not really sure how or why. There we go. That was my first decent run through that hairpin. I'm still seeing him up there in that second hairpin. just got to try to run consistent here. I'd actually done a 20-minute practice session before this race, just to kind of get acclimatized to the track. Obviously, more acclimatized to the car with the track combination. I've driven Zhuhai quite a bit. I drove it first, I think, in R Factor 1, and then, of course, in Project Cars 1. And I actually really enjoy this track. Obviously, it being Chinese, you don't hear about Chinese track very much because, of course, Shanghai, for F1, as I got way out there, and here comes the Aston. Well, we'll hold that thought at the moment because we've actually got a race because the Aston Martin goes through. That's unfortunate. I completely outbrake myself, lock the tires up going into turn 1, but we'll keep the Aston behind us. I'm not sure how I pulled that off, but, you know, I found that if you don't question it, things just happen sometimes. Alright, okay, anyway. Yeah, Shanghai kind of dominates the Chinese racing landscape in terms of tracks, because of course they have the Formula 1 race. But Zhuhai was actually, I believe, built to host F1 in the late 90s, early 2000s for whatever reason. Probably because Shanghai was built, Zhuhai kind of got left in the dust. But this track has hosted a few major races, including a couple of the World Championship WEC races, Intercontinental Le Mans Cup. Of course, that was kind of the predecessing, is that a word or whatever? The series that predated the WEC. And then, of course, this track also, now currently, and kind of one of the reasons that inspired me to do this video, is that the Asian Le Mans series is running a race here, I believe this weekend, if I'm not mistaken. So kind of cool, kind of a neat track, and like I said, it's fun to drive on. It's weird. It's one of those tracks that's hardly ever represented in video games, but when you get it, it's pretty cool to race on it. So we are, again, I'm just shocked with the pace of that Aston Martin. I think I'm on 103. I think the AI difficulty is at 103. I know I turned down their aggression a bit, not because of course, the cars in my class, but I was worried about how it was going to operate with the P1 cars when they catch and pass us, which should be pretty soon, I would imagine. Let's take a look back. Yeah, there's a P1 car already back there, so here we go. Now, the P1 cars are just incredible under acceleration because all of the P1 cars in this game have hybrid systems. Some of them have an energy recovery systems, other of them have KERS, flywheel kind of stuff, the four-wheel drive, obviously Audi and Toyota. A lot of different stuff being utilized technologically with all the P1 cars in the game, but the end result is that when they get off the corner, they accelerate like rocket ships. And when you're in a GTE car, you know, you feel like you're going pretty fast in these cars. That is, of course, until you have a P1 car, like the one you're seeing right there going by the Aston, come down the main straightaway at Zhuhai and absolutely drive by me, outbrake me, out-accelerate me, and then bye-bye. Look, oh, I was almost completely so fascinated by that P1 car absolutely flying away that I almost completely screwed up. That's the other thing about being in a GT car, is that when you've got a prototype ahead of you, you've got to be so careful not to start braking where the prototype is, because your cars cannot do what that prototype car can do in the braking zone. The only place the GT cars and the prototypes are about the same is right mid-corner. That's where kind of the mechanical and aerodynamic grip kind of crosses over. So when you get to a middle of a corner with a P1 car, don't be surprised if you're just as fast as him for about 5 seconds, and that will be very strange if you're a first-time GT driver, because you're thinking, oh, okay, you know, you leave a ton of room for the P1 car, like I'm about to do right now. And just let him go. Oh, we got hit in the back by the Aston because I slowed down too much. Good job, Aston. How bad did he hurt our car? 4% damage. Wonderful. Well, we'll have to make sure, because after the Nürburgring race where I damaged the car and ended up having major mechanical issues, we're gonna have to be very careful that this thing does not break by the end of it. We still got 17 minutes to go in this race. Almost halfway. Like I said, we'll probably get lapped about twice, and it looks like my prediction was about spot on. As I lock up the brakes, the P1 car goes through, but we don't let the Aston through. I am not good, I'll tell you. I like driving through traffic, but being the traffic, I still need to figure out how to drive fast and not lose time, but still be as polite as I can be to the top class. I don't operate very well as a second-class citizen. It's very difficult for me to kind of get out of the way of faster people. I'll tell you, when I was in Indianapolis recently, we were at the kart track at Speedway Indoor Karting, and we had a USAC sprint car guy come in while we were racing, and we were up against him. And usually I'm near the top when I'm racing in or doing, you know, like the lap times. I'm usually up there at the top. And I'll tell you, when that guy got in there, he was probably about a second faster than me on the track, because of course he's a professional racing driver and I do this, you know, the majority of the time on the sim rather than in real life. So obviously he has a way better, oops, as we've got P1 cars deciding to try to kill me there. Obviously he has a way better understanding of real life racing than I do. And again, he was about a second faster than me, and it was just amazing. As a guy like me who usually has to pass lap traffic, I became the lap traffic for the guy, and it was just a weird sensation. As we completely screw up turn 1 again, and they almost have the Aston Martin coming behind me. But yeah, I imagine that's what the GTE drivers feel like. You know, it's like, oh, I'm pretty capable, but there's always going to be somebody faster than you out there. And it's just it's a weird sensation to not only look forward and focus on going fast yourself, but looking in the mirrors to make sure you don't completely screw somebody else over who may be in a different race than your own. The courtesy is a weird element of this kind of racing, again, like when you're in the lower classes. One of these times, I'm hoping, you know, I know a lot of people in the comments have been asking for me to do Daytona, the Rolex, obviously, and don't worry, I'm doing it. I kind of want to do it closer to when the Rolex actually is, so a couple months from now. Hopefully by then I can actually race with 32 AI cars. But I'm really considering doing that in the GTE class, which would mean I'm kind of in between classes. I would have the GT3s below me and the P2 cars ahead of me, and that would be very, very interesting, just from the perspective of, oops, as we completely screw up. We're screwing up the last and the first corner, which is interesting. So the two corners that I'm really blowing it in. But yeah, I think that might be the most interesting combination for running a simulation of the Rolex 24. Probably won't do 24 hours, just in case you guys thought I was going to do it, but I might do a fairly sizable race if that's something that interests you guys. Maybe like 2 hours, hour and a half, something like that. Let me know in the comments if that sounds like a good idea, or if that sounds like something that would just bore your socks off. Maybe I'll stream it, I don't know.
Fastest first sector you've done yet. Great job.
So we're still running here in second place in GTE. I don't know where that Aston Martin is. I feel like he got way better BOP than I did. I've got a 5-second penalty for some reason. Why do I have a 5-second penalty? Okie dokie. Well, that's annoying. That's it. That is a thing, though. This game will not tell you. If you've got the HUD completely off, the game will not tell you if you have to give up some track position. Well, now we've got to gain 5 seconds on the guy behind me. Otherwise, we're going to be in real trouble. Where on earth could I have even gotten that penalty? I don't think I cut the track anywhere, at least from what I remember. Oh well. Well, it's time to go really fast. Super
Blue
fast.
flag, better let them through.
There's a blue flag because we've got a P1 car coming up behind. Which way are you going, sir? Oh, he's going to the inside. Okay, thank you.
Just at your own personal best lap. Keep it up.
Appreciate that.
Your pace is steady and consistent. We just need a bit more now. Come on, dig deep.
That was close. Again, I was braking where the P1 car was. And that's never going to work. That is never going to work. It can kind of work in the rain. That's another place where GT cars are kind of as fast as P cars is the rain. But really, even then, if you're in a GTE car, you're really only going to be able to challenge the P2 cars in the rain. The P1 cars are still just incredible machines. Wet, dry, snowing. I suppose snow would be fine because they're four-wheel drive. The top of the line P1 cars, anyway. Which, by the way, I've heard that all the 2016. Oh, that's some lag. Wow, that is some big lag. And we're still lagging. Okay, that was quite the thing there. Don't know why that was happening, but apparently the game doesn't want me to tell you about the DLC that is coming. But apparently all three of the 2016 P1 entries are going to be in the game. So, or the major ones, I should say. You're not going to get Bicollis, unfortunately. No Bicollis, but you're going to get the Toyota, the Audi R18, and the Porsche 919 from 2016 in the game. That's going to be pretty cool to have all of those three prototypes in the game, and obviously expect coverage when those come out, because you're darn right I'm going to be driving some P1 cars. I love the P1 cars. I'm loving driving them in a Zetto Corsa. They just recently released the DLC for a Zetto that has the Toyota and Audi from 2014 in there, I should say. Unfortunately, they kind of get mollywopped by the 2015 Porsche, so it's going to be nice to kind of have the big three from 1 year, so that there's not really one dominant car. Even though the Toyota was kind of off the pace in 2016 in the WEC. The Audi and Porsche were pretty evenly matched, I would say. The Audi was slow at Le Mans, which was weird, and the Toyota was fast, but the rest of the season it was kind of flip-flopped, and the Porsche obviously is fast everywhere.
Keep it up.
Because when Porsche gets into sports car racing, they don't mess around. I can't think. That's another thing. I can't even really think of one failure Porsche has ever had. Even if they have kind of like a bad year to start out with a sports car program, it seems like by year 2 they have it not only figured out, but they start dominating. A bad year for Porsche is like winning one race, which I think they did in 2014, the WEC. And then, of course, 2015, their fortunes completely changed. As, again, I locked up the brakes. Well, I think... I don't know if I have 5 seconds yet on that Aston in second. Or the Aston in third. I would like to retain my second place if I could. We're definitely not going to get first. The Falcon Tires Aston is completely and utterly checked out. Get it down into the hairpin. I still don't think I have that does not look like a 5-second gap to me, unfortunately. So we may end up falling like 4th or 5th. Unless I can really get on it here in the next few laps. So I think we've only got a few laps remaining in the race. Time-wise, we've got 8 minutes. So probably about 5 or 6 laps to go here. I think I can claw back a little bit of time here. And obviously there's still always the possibility that the leader is going to get into trouble. Spinning off, and then I could capitalize on that. Of course, if I do capitalize on it, I'm going to need to put 5 seconds between him and I. Otherwise, the pass will be null and void.
Just try and pick it up a little bit. You're very consistent. Now you can just dig out a few extra tenths of a second.
I tried to get it down. I just kind of slid the tires. Obviously, tire wear a little bit. Tire wear obviously not very bad because these GT cars, again, GTE cars are so nice on their tires too. It's just like it takes so long to burn the tires off in these cars. Even if you're absolutely pushing to the maximum limit. The engine's a little bit damaged. A little bit concerned about that. I'm waiting to hear, oh, your engine's blowing up.
7 minutes remaining.
Okay, that is not 5 seconds. We need more than that. It feels like, I mean, again, that is the other thing about these GTE cars. There's so many points I want to make. And I keep thinking of more points to make, is that, like, man, these cars are so evenly matched. It's really hard to plot a decent advantage in these cars. Because, I mean, you're always going to see, they're always going to be right on your tail. One of these days, I was going to say I need to race these online. I'm just going to need to do an online live stream of this game. Hopefully, I'll be able to do that within the next week or so. So look out for that. I'll announce it on Twitter. Because I feel like I really want to get a lobby going, run some things that aren't GT3 cars, because that's what everybody runs in this game. Like I said in the last video, so many GT3
Great final
cars.
sector. That's your best so far.
There we go. That was finally good through turn 1. Oh, a little bit of oversteer on the exit. Managed to catch it, no problem. I am also running the loose setup. Default loose setup. That was something that was added to the game in the 2.0 update. Just kind of getting rid of the very neutral cars, to say the least. Very, very front-heavy feeling. Cars felt like they always wanted to push in the corners, so a lot of times I just had to take a ton of rear wing out of the car, of every car. Now there's a, obviously default loose setup, so they've essentially already done that for you, but also balance the rest of the stuff of the car, hopefully a little bit anyway.
5 minutes remaining.
And I'm not a gearhead. I know like how wings work. I know kind of what stiffening and loosening the suspension does, and obviously gear ratios and things like that. But once you start getting into like spring rates and tire pressures, I'm completely out to lunch. So I need a race engineer when I looking at setup information, because otherwise I'm kind of out to lunch. You heard 5 minutes remaining just a little while ago.
That's your fastest lap in the race.
There you go, fastest lap in the race, just because, probably because I nailed turn 1. Didn't screw up too bad again.
Clear flag. Here come the race leaders.
And here comes the P1 cars once again. Okay, now let's drive a little bit better this time. I gotta take my apex when I can get it. He's gonna sneak up the inside, and around he goes. Actually, that's the P1 car that I had a little bit of contact with,
4 minutes to go.
who I think dove off into the pits because of the contact. So I may have taken a dive plane or something off of him. So clearly he probably wasn't too happy with me. That may have been where my 5-second penalty came from. Let's just say it was. I got a 5-second penalty for running into a P1 car. We'll just say that. Avoidable contact penalty, and we'll move on. That was a little bit of a lockup there. It's not what we need to be doing. We need to be running consistent laps to not lose positions because of penalty. We'll see where we end up. I think I'm doing okay managing the gap. Nope, he's still back there. Good God. I feel like I pull it out and then it's like immediately he's right back on the back bumper of me.
3 minutes to go.
Okay, so you hear the updates. We got 3 minutes remaining in the race. And we are
Great consistent laps. Just try and find a little bit more pace here and there.
trying to find consistent pace, Mr. Engineer. trying to. I was breathing the throttle a little bit. You heard the traction control coming on, but I'm trying to avoid that situation where the traction control is like, okay, I'm done helping you. And then the back end decides, hey, you know what, I still want to lose traction anyway. So you do kind of have to still like work the throttle even if you have traction control, because obviously you are going at a very high rate of speed. So I lock the brakes up just a little bit again. Not exactly what we want to be doing. Getting a little bit of lag in the game again. Just a little bit of lag, not sure what it was causing it.
2 minutes to go.
Ooh. Did not get through that corner very well. Kind of locked the brakes up on the entry and kind of exited the corner poorly. We're starting to build that gap a little bit. You heard the best second sector so far. Don't know if that was total or just for me. Wasn't paying that much attention, but we have gapped the guys behind a little bit, so that's a good thing. Down into third, which seems to be the best gear to take through that final corner. I finally decided. I probably should have been in third gear that entire time.
That lap is a new personal best. Good job.
Otherwise, we'd probably be racing for the lead. But we'll live and let live at this point. Ooh, this car is just really on the edge coming out of that first corner. Woo-wee.
1 minute to go.
All right, 1 minute to go. That means probably one more lap, because I'm guessing the leaders will have taken the white flag now, so that means we've got to complete one more lap, unless they lap us again, in which case I don't know what's going to happen. I drove it too deep, too deep, too deep. No. Yep, there's the P1 cars. Hey, you know what, P1 cars, could you please take out those GT cars that you're racing? Pretty please. David has a 5-second penalty that I don't want to pay for. So we get through that nice corner there. Yeah, I think they may have at least slowed up the GT cars a little bit, which I appreciate. Get down in a second gear there. Just ease it off the corner. Here we go. Okay. So we should be, yeah, we're at 0-0-0. On the clock. It means we're going to go around one more time as P1 cars are coming by. It means we are going to get one more lap, and possibly the guys behind us are not going to get one more lap. And that P1 car has obviously finished the race, so he's not going to contest the position too hard. In fact, he's completely backed off because he's on the reconnaissance lap, or not the reconnaissance lap, the cooldown lap. Obviously, I'm still racing, so that was a wise move by me to not go a second lap down, because I think we're going to get this second place in GTE just on the virtue of not getting lapped a second time. As the downshift protection is getting a little annoying, even though that, of course, they're like, oh, it's realistic. Yes, you're right, but it doesn't make it any less annoying. Okay, so the last time around here at Zhuhai, and I like this track. I really do. I wish I could have gotten a win, but it wasn't in the cards for today. So we'll drive her around one more time. And I also do love driving this Ford GT. It is a nice car to drive, very well balanced. A good GT car. Very good GT car. Of course, it looks, I'll tell you this, the Ford GT, looks a lot like a prototype. We're starting to get to that point in the GTE/GT2 regulations where the GT cars are starting to get more towards the prototype category. But anyway, we'll take second place in the Ford GT. Woo! We'll take a look at the results and also watch a little bit of the sexy replays in this game, because they do look good. So the race results. We had 6 P1 cars finished 1 through 6. The P3 cars finished 7 through 12. GTE, obviously won by the Falcon Tires car. I got the 5-second penalty, but it didn't matter anyway because I finished a lap ahead of the third place car in GTE. Then we had a Corvette, another Corvette, a BMW, and the red Corvette, for whatever reason, ended up finishing last, 19th and last place. So that was a multi-class 30-minute race in the GTE class at Zhuhai. I had a great time filming this race. I will say this is Project Cars at its best when it's the multi-class sports car racing with the prototypes, GTs all thrown in the mix. Very, very fun racing to be had here with the AI. So, thank you guys so much for watching this. This has been David Land on YouTube. If you do enjoy these Project Cars videos, you guys know what to do. Be sure to leave a like on this video and subscribe for more, because I love doing it, and it seems like these videos are actually becoming quite successful. People are enjoying watching them, so you know that means I'm going to keep doing them. So again, thank you guys so much for watching. Also, leave a comment down below what your favorite GTE car is to drive in this game. Be interested to see what the consensus is in the comments. So, until next time, this has been David Land on YouTube, and we'll see you in the next video.